Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. It is Tuesday, the 14th of July. Welcome to Pep Talks in the Morning. My name is Felicia Holder, your host for this program, the chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party. And if you would have watched the broadcast on TNT3 last night, if you would have watched the first broadcast 3 weeks ago, your candidate for Diego Martin Central. This morning, let me start by apologizing for not being on the program yesterday. We were sitting, well, not in studio, in our virtual studio, ready to go, but unfortunately, some technical difficulties prohibited us from coming live to you. But we are back this morning and continuing our series of interviews with PEP candidates. And this morning, we have Mr. Benison Jagasa, candidate for San Fernando West. And Mr. Jagasa is an education professional. He has made many contributions to the National Forum on Constitutional Reform, Educational Innovation, Crime Prevention, and Poverty Eradication. Benison comes with international experience being a British trained researcher and poverty eradication expert. He is the holder of degrees from the United States and the United Kingdom and is pursuing his PhD in leadership and change. Other local, regional, and international awards have been conferred on Mr. Jagasa for his contribution to education and national development in Trinidad and Tobago. Let us welcome Mr. Benison Jagasa, candidate for San Fernando West, to Pep Talks in the Morning. Welcome to the program, Benison.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and my constituents, San Fernando West Killer. My name is
Good morning.
Benison Jagger.
Morning, Benison, and welcome to the program. It's a pleasure having you on with us this morning.
Thank you, Felicia. Thank you for having me on this morning. Um, I'm very happy to be here this morning with you. My name
Indeed.
is Benison Jagger, and I'm the Progressive Empowerment Party's candidate for San Fernando West.
Indeed.
I
And Benison, this morning we have a series of questions to ask you to let San Fernando West become more familiar with you. So, just to kick off that interview, can you please tell the public a little bit more about yourself? We just read your very interesting and very in-depth bio, but this is your opportunity to take some time to tell the public, tell the constituents of San Fernando West who exactly is Benison Jagasa.
thank you once again, Felicia. I am a normal person. I was born in San Fernando. I lived in San Fernando all my life, and I went to school. I went to one of our top schools in San Fernando, is Naparima College, which I was very happy to be there for that period of time. And I had the opportunity going up different phases of development in San Fernando, and was able to, first of all, be on the ground most of the times, looking and understanding the issues that were surrounding the people, and that they had to deal with and had to come to terms with as they had to go through their daily lives across the entire realm of the San Fernando constituencies. I, in particular, would have liked to see San Fernando develop a lot more. Having returned from England through a national scholarship which was awarded to me by the government, and studying uh, areas of development where some kind of progress could have taken place. I knew when I left my beloved land here, I knew San Fernando was the second largest and the second city as we knew it. But to my dismay, when I returned, I was in a state of shock to see that perhaps we had returned to the second to last city in terms of certain aspects of development and so on. And this triggered my response to actually do something. You know, I went into the education sector at the secondary school level and so on, where I was a head of department of construction. And my tendency was, I felt that, okay, we're going to have things built and so on in order to provide the infrastructural support of the developmental trust that we should have been. What happened is you know, more, and I think most people like myself, when they're returning home, or some of those people who want to return home, they want to live in comfort. They want to live with amenities which they can actually receive services from. What happened as well, I believe, is that, you know, I was wondering, well, what was the cause of all of this as an educator? Because, you know, so I said, let me go back into the system, and I went in and started to work as the principal of the MIC Technology Center, and you know, perhaps maybe a different kind of education would have brought people to understanding of the need for that kind of education. Because San Fernando West was stepped in traditional forms of education, academic. Everybody, Naparima College, Naparima Boys, Naparima Girls, Convent. These schools, you know, we had more the academia kind of approach to education, where you simply get a piece of paper, you go to school for 5 years, you get some subjects, you get a piece of paper and you go there and you look, literally beg for a job in some instances. And I felt that that wasn't the way that, you know, development should have taken place as far as the education sector should have gone. So I went into the curriculum and, you know, saw the need to have it more practical in its approach, like what the PEP policies talk about in terms of education, something of a more weighted sections of the curriculum to help with a more formative assessment component than the summative assessments that we are accustomed to. What happened? You know, we started. I was the principal of both the centers in the north and the south centers. What came to my mind is that the students, when we finished, they did courses. The courses were done. We had the curriculum and so on. But the thing is, the young men who were graduating from these courses were not actually placed in the area of expertise. So for example, we had people in areas like carpentry, electrical, masonry, plumbing. When they graduated, there was no follow-up to place them in positions where they had to do this to apply the skills that they had learned. And this was one of the things that was affecting most of the people in San Fernando, the young men, who were particularly concerned with that aspect of it. So even though they were given stipends, we built the program in such a way, they were all like on scholarship because they had stipends up to like $70 a day. So we actually were paying people to go to school to do technical vocational education and training, and yet still they didn't want it. Many of them just came there and they simply did return from the courses without any much impetus to go on further. So, yeah, and this seemed a lot. We have a lot of young men. I haven't, you know, we have maybe 24,000 people in San Fernando West. We have 59 polling divisions, but they are scattered across, and the students were coming from all areas of the communities. So this was, you know, this was one of the things that I was particularly concerned about. Yes. and even today it exists. The I had this, most importantly, it was why certain things, and as I go along, I will perhaps explore the other dimensions of the developmental process that was taking place in San Fernando. Why it is that these things are taking so long? I mean, 40 years, and there was no movement. So San Fernando was like a town that everybody breathed in, and they were waiting to exhale, and they simply could not. Here, it was like they were stifling. And today, even up to today, there is a mad rush, which I will go along later on and show you. A mad rush, sporadic. Every single place you're seeing that was neglected for 40 years is a mad rush to fix it in 40 minutes, 40 days.
I see.
And
Has the paving started in San Fernando yet?
well, the paving is one aspect, is done in sporadic pieces. It was neglected for 4 years, 4.5 years, and now you are seeing some signs of pieces of things being done, like by the Supero Bridge there, where part of the road was being paved now. Now it's not, they stopped it, and we don't know when it's going to happen again. So apparently things have been done in such a way just to say, okay, right, all they wanted, we give you a piece side, fine. The road to even come down here by the Southland, the old Southland Mall, it was done like you pave it in such a way without even with no standards. It started to break up. It had the same potholes coming back again after a couple months. So everything seemed to be done just to as a cosmetic approach to fixing things and to
Reactionary
developing things.
approach, not
Yes,
strategic at all.
no. well, well, strategic in the
But
sense to win,
but
to fool up people and get the votes. That's all.
exactly. But because we do have a timed this program is timed. I have to move on into my other questions, but thank you very much for giving us that little insight into why your history and your involvement in the political world. Can you tell us now about some of the work that you're doing on the ground in San Fernando West? I saw you started your walkabouts with your team, etc. How is that going?
Felicia, I am taking a strategic approach to understanding what is happening on the ground. Sure, you see a lot of them with trucks driving all over and waving and giving out jerseys and kissing babies and shaking hands and so on. People in San Fernando, I believe the time for them is to move out of that kind of thinking, to move out of simply saying, I am a certain race, I'm going to vote so, and I am an next race, I'm going to vote so. That kind of thing has to stop. And the PP has offered a viable solution with all those calais last night. We can take the government over. This is what we want. This is what I'm here this morning to do, to appeal to the people, not only not to vote for PP, but to vote out every single body. 1.4 million people in Trinidad and the 23,000 plus people in San Fernando West to say, here, what we have had enough of you all for a life. 40 years is a generation or a lifetime. We do not want you all. And this is my appeal to them. And it's the same approach I am going into the whole thing as a strategic leader and manager myself for many years with the projects I was doing abroad in the Bahamas and so on. This is the approach. The first thing in solving any problem or dealing with any situation is to find out what the problem is. So we will have, perhaps this is my approach. So I am going polling division by polling division. So at the end of it, I will have every single person who have a problem and know in every single polling division where they are. What I am concerned about is that people in San Fernando the heart of San Fernando, for example, Irving Street, you never expect flooding to take place there because there are hills all over. Lo and behold, I met with a family there, a lady, who she says that a drain or a big kind of canal is going through her property, and she has been trying for the last 20 years to get the council to fix it. And so you have infrastructural problems across the realm of the communities and the constituency itself. Now, when I could be able to say, Miss Kissoon, I know where Miss Kissoon is, I know what her problems are, and I could strategically say, okay, I have started my representation, because this is something that is terribly lacking in San Fernando. And as I go along, I will show in no uncertain way how this thing is a virus. It's worse than corona, because it's affecting people for 40 years and nobody is saying nothing. Because people are, you see, what I'm getting from the people too, a sense of hopelessness. You go to them, they say, we try every single thing, right? Even the mayor's sector of who is responsible for that area, that is one of the worst kept areas. So the representation by the people who are supposed to do their job, they are not doing what they're supposed to do. And this is where the PEP policy is important in terms of constitutional reform, the right to recall. I myself, if I go in there and I am not doing what I am supposed to do, then I hope I won't wait for people to recall me. I will say, yeah, I'm not going to function in this capacity.
I can't do the job.
You say, you come for this work. People have to say, I'm done with this work. Because,
I like that.
Yeah, it's a matter of sorry. So
no, go ahead. It's a matter of
yeah, it's a matter of people having a hope. There is no hope. I've gone to the town hall about 10 times. I didn't see the person. The person tell me come back. I don't know. Everybody's saying, Philip is saying a lot of calypsos and anything. I think the calypso for San Fernando West is wait, Dorothy, wait. Because we waiting and we waiting and we waiting. And it's only when you see election time come, you see one set of things doing, and after that, for the rest of the 5 years, you stop right there. And as I go along, I want to touch on areas that are critical to San Fernando West, and people they are not dealing with it.
That segues us into our next set of questions, because you're saying that you are sensing, you started to say that your approach on the ground is very strategic in San Fernando West, that you are listening to the issues of people, you're getting a sense of hopelessness, and that segues into my question: what has been the response to you in San Fernando West so far? What has been the response by the people when you reach out to them?
I think the response is that they don't want me to go. They want me to listen. They want somebody to listen to what they have to say and to really respond. The reason is that, I might have to walk the whole constituency for until 12 o'clock every night to meet everybody, because when you meet them, they get so disheartened with, okay, you're going already. Nobody never even talk to me. Nobody ever come. They haven't seen the MP. I think they're for the incumbent, and I myself looking for him. I ain't seen him. Nobody has seen him. It's only now he surfaced. So it's a Houdini kind of act that these politicians from the past were doing. And then on the larger issues of crime. I haven't done the statistical report as to how many murders have taken place in San Fernando. But over the 10 years that both the UNC and the PNM were here, there were 10,000 murders. Murders. I'm not talking about people who died. I'm talking about people who were murdered across Trinidad and Tobago. And not one of those parties responded to it. And perhaps this is when I visited the San Fernando Wharf area. I was in shock about 2 days ago as to the customs and excise building. It was a 20-foot container, and I was wondering what these guys were doing. So I interviewed them, and they said they were there to check people who coming in. So I wondering, well, why is it happening on the borders, and we can't deal with it? You see, there were no solutions, and this is what I loved about the PEP, and the people are understanding that now. And I'm telling people, don't wait for me to tell everybody. You get 10 of your friends and go and tell them about the policies. There was never a party in the history of Trinidad and Tobago where the policy actual solution. They were actually solutions and which could be implemented. Virtual wall in the virtual line in the sea that Philip always talk about in terms of national security is to have a 3-mile radius line outside the parameters of the sea. So everything that is coming in, you could control it. He gave the solutions. We have the solutions, and this is one of the reasons I joined the Progressive Empowerment Party, and I'm working across the entire board of San Fernando West. And the people, you see, some of the people, they are in comfort zones. So you say, well, I get a house and I get a car and I get some little money because of them. And they're going to put back the finger inside the red. But when they start to see the big picture and the $30 billion that we debt, and their children going to have to pay through the taxes that come in the whole of San Fernando West, I hope they're ready to pay it. I hope so. So people are expressing concerns. The normal thing, we have no job, we have no water, we have no food, we have no light, in certain areas. And then this is where the poverty eradication approach, where I pioneered in the Bahamas with Dr. Miles Monroe in the island of Andros. We actually link technical vocational education and training with the eradication of poverty. So the actual education aspects of things, it does not. We have plenty. We have how many schools? We have about 10 schools around within a 5-mile radius. Primary schools, secondary schools. The education is not relevant to national needs. It is simply a British kind of education that is fostered among people to determine people who are elite and who are of a lesser class. And the policies, everything I'm talking here, I could back it up with a policy, the education policy talk about prestige schools, getting rid of all the prestige schools. The most prestigious schools are in San Fernando West. The both prime ministers of the past came from Presentation College. But I came from La Prima, so that's a different story by itself. So we are at the crossroads. I believe people are at the crossroads. They want to excel, and people, like I met this guy, I don't have his file here, name it, but he was in the mayor's section of the constituency. And he was telling me, he said, Mr. Jagger, I trying to get a job for my child. I am a single father. I had to be working 2 jobs. So people living, you ask me what is the most important thing? The most important thing in the San Fernando West region is that people are living in fear. They are afraid to eat, they're afraid to sleep, they're afraid to go out. Long time before this whole system was taking place. We could have walked San Fernando and not get robbed and hijacked and all that kind of thing. Now it has certain areas in San Fernando you can't go. You cannot go. Nobody make a mistake and go in certain areas. So this is what you have the people in a state of flux all the time, and they're afraid. They are, many people want to vote PPP, because but they are so afraid. And I am making a call to all the people in San Fernando West, all, including especially the people who have not voted, which is a large percentage, to come and vote for the PPP, vote for Mr. Jagesta, and put me in the parliament, and I will make sure with every single ounce of my intelligence to get things done for you all and to solve the problem. What has made it very easy and very simple is the fact that the policies of the Progressive Empowerment Party speak to all these things in a way that is not a pie in the sky. And I was looking at the two newspapers, the Guardian and the Newsday. And something I am very concerned about too is what the AG said. He is and I quote him from the newspaper, we have to spend our way out of difficulties that COVID have created. This generates a significant number of jobs. That is the exact words I am quoting from the Newsday. I want to know, by any stretch of the imagination, how that is possible. How you could spend your way out of something that you didn't do for 40 years. The purchasers, some of the people in the more affluent areas asking me, Jagesta, where all the money that has come to the constituency. It don't have anything like a grant that is given to the constituency where they could say, well, okay, we have gotten so much and we're going to be using it in such and such a way. Nobody knows. To tell you the truth, I myself do not know how much money actually comes to this San Fernando West region. Because I don't know if the auditors have even looked at the books of the corporation. This is why perhaps the governance structure that is exposed by Philip and the PPP is that they need to get rid of these things. If something is not working, what are you keeping it for? You tell me. What are we keeping it for? They have not worked, they have not performed, but yet still you go for them back? That is the highest form of disrespect that anybody could trust upon any community. So I know that they well. Sorry, yeah, I was saying they and coming back to the education aspect of it too, I believe there are a lot of educated people in San Fernando, but they need to become intelligent. This is what the education system has done.
Well said. So many educated people running around here, and I don't know if they would have, what's the term, would have traded that off for the intelligence aspect. Yesterday I went into the bank and a couple, a husband and wife, and I only found out they were husband and wife because the guard came to separate them. They were sitting together, and they told the guard, we came together, we're married, and the guard told them that doesn't matter. You'll need to separate from each other. Again, so many educated, but clearly not very intelligent, because this same couple had to go and sit down together to have their appointment with the bank service rep. So anyway, that was just a segue. You started to speak about the issues in facing San Fernando West, but if we can just table them, what are some of the major issues, maybe the top 3 major issues that face your constituency of San Fernando West?
The top 3, the first thing that comes to mind, well, we spoke in depth about the infrastructure. We talked, there's the issue of health, there's the issue of general works taking place in the system of the social development area. Yes. So, for example, and I like to relate to something. Saying things like that is fine. in terms of the let's take infrastructure. There seems to be a back to front priority. You're looking at things, priorities are back to front for the well-being of the people of San Fernando West. Sure, everybody, they have this big explosion with all these contracts and so on. I'll get to that just now. But before I became a big time scholar and going to England and all that, I used to be in the market. I started my career working in the market. And in the market, I was there for about 3 years. And up to today, I want to tell you how old I am, look young. When I ended up looking at the market today, it's almost the same way it was 40 years ago. And the problems that face the market is the same. Had the same traffic problem. When you go to the market, you can't get a place to park. The market itself is hot. They build the whole thing out of galvanized. The whole roof in the market is galvanized. And they do an addition, because while I was a building inspector in the town hall, the engineer had designed this structure to park all the trucks that were loaded with things like oranges and so on to come off the road. Lo and behold, though that thing wasn't designed in such a way, the first week after it was cured and the rain fell, water started to come through that roof. So they disbanded that entire thing and they left it standing there. Apart from that, the back of the market, the toilets, when they overflow, they go directly into the meat section and the fish section. So I mean, these are bread and butter issues, and you have people from not only from San Fernando West coming there, you have people from San Fernando East, people from all over across the whole globe. So
that's gross.
The same, yes, and they're not fixing it. I went recently and I plan to do videos. This is how my video is going to come out from the constituency. Let them see what is going on. Sure, we have rich people. We have a lot of rich people who could go down to Massy stores. This is one reason why you have this disparity in the prices of things too. You going into the Massy stores. We have Massy stores. We have a lot of businesses, food businesses, food groceries and so on. But when you go, you have a place to park. You're coming out in air condition. You have somebody who could trolley out the stuff for you. You have all these things. When you go to the market, so how are you going to push local produce? They say produce. That's why nobody wants to even go in the market again. So we are our own worst enemies. You will spend $10 a pound to buy tomatoes in Massy stores and buy it willingly. But Patek, who's selling in the market or with a little heap of tomatoes, that costing $5, you wouldn't do it, because you when you reach on Mokapo Street, they can't park and all kind of things. The issues
you can't park and you have toilet water running by your foot. I mean, that sounds like any reason to stay away from the market. You can understand there.
Yes, and what people say, well, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We're going to get rid of those people who are responsible. Parking is a nightmare. Yeah, I went up to, and I get in the habit of doing solutions. You see, not only saying, well, boy, this thing ain't working. Everybody know what to do. If you ask 100 people, 1,000 people in San Fernando what to do, you have a whole list and this and that. The Progressive Empowerment Party policies are about solutions. So when I go out on behalf of the Progressive Empowerment Party, I am telling you what the solution is. And it's workable, viable, and within cost budget to get it done. It's not that, I'll come to that issue about the cost of things to it. So look, for example, we walked across up to Pendleton Street, Chapman Street, San Fernando Street, and Mount Chapman Street. There is a big piece of land which the government could acquire. They acquire everything. They're acquiring everything that they want to acquire. They could acquire this piece of land and build a multi-story car park in San Fernando. So all the people on High Street who parking even out to Mokapo Street where the market is. They could utilize that car park inside there. So they apparently they are devoid of ideas. And I am listening to Philip speaking on the shows and on the threads all the time. I believe he could run the whole government by himself with the ideas and the PEP group of people. We could take over everything and run this government the way it should be.
Indeed. Benison, just moving on into the next questions because we are beginning to run out of time, and that is exactly how this program goes. We start off and people get comfortable and they speak and they don't realize just how short 1 hour actually is when you're being interviewed. Next question. So we spoke about some of the major issues facing your constituency. If you can fix just one of these major issues, if you had to pick, they said, Benison, you are now the MP of Chaguanas West. Unfortunately, we only have this budget. You can pick one of these issues that you're going to address. Which one would it be?
Well, being the MP for San Fernando West, I would be in a good position because I'm seeing now after 4 years and 2 weeks before there's a mad rush to fix everything. They're fixing from every single thing they could find, they're fixing. But I have some pictures 2 days before the cops came down on the wharf there. We were taking pictures and so on because they visit that wharf area very often. And once they see, they're seeing people with cameras and so on taking out photos. But we were taking out photos of the stray dogs and the fish guts and the derelict people, buildings that were occupying a major part of our top waterfront property for the last 40 years. So that is an area that could generate millions of dollars of revenue back to Trinidad and Tobago, where you have the ships, the ships coming in there to have it as a tourist destination. So that's one of the areas which could be fixed. My thing is now that we are ready to have an election, you see, everything is based on not needs of the people and the well-being of the society and the members of society in San Fernando. It's the people, It's all about stunting projects. You stunt a project and you say, okay, well, them fellas go vote for it. We stunt this project. There are 16 contracts, I understand, that have been signed off, and I don't know if it was signed off before the parliament was dissolved or if it was signed off when it was signed off. But that's what I understand. Because when you go down by the wharf area and the areas that's supposed to have been built up, you've seen big contractors. So the big contractors, you've seen the signs up. You've seen the signs. And they don't put up the signs, sign the contract, and now they're going to have dialogue with the people. This is typical approach to the governance that we're talking about, representation and so on. You can represent something that you don't represent. You don't. Everything sounds like a done deal because you can't turn salt for something, and you have somebody to do it. Now, my thing is where are the people in San Fernando West benefiting from this? Because I believe the time for change, for real change, going to take place here. And now that you see, we put forward our entire range of candidates. People in San Fernando West. I had 2 people before I came to the studio here, telling me they say here now, all you're looking better, So the change starting to take place. I am going to start fasting and praying that this change take place at the pace we want it. And the PNM government and the Prime Minister knows. That's why he pushed the election up so quick. Because he knows once he gives the PEP traction, they are going to steamroller over every single body. And they couldn't take that chance. But lo and behold, divine intervention always takes place. I myself, I wasn't I wasn't going to come out. I will gladly stay at the background. But I tell myself, this thing is being led by Almighty God to change the course of history, to change people, and this is my direction to the people of San Fernando West. That you have the power to say, I do not want something that is not viable for me, and my children, they're going to pay. You know that. Let me quote again. Yeah? I quote in here from the papers, 11th of July. One of the mega projects, I don't know how they sign off that in Parliament. I hope they did. Is a 3.8 hectares San Fernando waterfront redevelopment project. It's after 40 years. And every government that comes in there, the UNC is no different. If they were there for 5 years, they had the capacity to do. They had 29 seats in Parliament. They could have make the changes required for the Constitution to get the recall legislation that the PP is proposing, the recall legislation, the referendum, the range of things that will change the whole course of how we're doing things and make people more accountable. So this 3.8 hectares of San Fernando development project is going to cost, hear me, $1 billion. That's what it's going to cost. I don't know if it's going to cost San Fernando West that or how they're going to deal with it. And I was trying to understand how the system works. If we understand how the system works, we understand why people become so corrupt. We talk about a lot of corruption and so on. There is also a $750 million public-private partnership with an engineering firm, I won't call the name, regarding the PTSC garage. So there is to park up all the buses and rev up the engines and monoxide flowing through the whole air. And you have people on the other side of the road busy bathing in flat rock, you call it, bathing all the time, going for sea bath. And the wind blowing from east to west. So it's monoxide down inside there. This thing, this whole thing, I don't know if these people sit down, because my first degree is in architectural design. I wonder if they ever sit down and think about what on earth they are doing in a holistic way. This is why when I came back from England, I started to look at solutions in a more holistic way. And this concept of holism, I had defined it for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That is to be able to deal with the problems facing people physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and financially at the same time. So until we put this in context with the lives of the people in San Fernando West and the families in particular, because the second city, I want the second city to become how it was, how it's supposed to be. The capacity, have the capacity to it. And I am making a call this morning across the airwaves, to join me, to call me, to make sure you get in touch with me and vote for me. Vote the Progressive Empowerment Party into governance so we can implement these solutions. If we do not do it, you all going to be taxed. This guy, oh my God, I can't take him. I raised the price of gas once. I raised the price twice, 3 times, and they riot. But they started the riot now, eh? But what I am asking people in West,
I have met nobody who could stand Coleman Booth. Nobody. I went into his constituency a few days ago, and oh my, they cannot stand this man. I think if it's one man they're waiting to vote out, it's Coleman Booth. But Benison, moving on, because we have just about 15 minutes left of the program. We spoke a bit about PEP policy, and you seem very well versed on PEP policy. I'm asking you the question now. Which one of the PEP policies resonates the most with you?
one policy 12. Policy 12 is the war on poverty. As a poverty eradication expert, I saw the effects of poverty. People in Trinidad, they're not really bad people, you know. But when you put somebody in a corner and you give them no food, no water, no house, no nothing, you know, after them, they will become animals. They will become animals. And the PEP policy talk about, and that this why like either you like having a war on crime. You can't say, well, you know, we go make 10 police stations and we go do so. You have to be strategic. This is what is lacking in the both parties. And it irks me. This is why I came out. Because I never found a party that could have applied policies in a holistic way to solve the problem. There was always a nice book, you know, 6,000 pages, a manifesto and 2020 this and 2020 that. Everything gone 10 years again. So the war on poverty is what we need. What do you think? You know, it has two communities side by side. The houses in places like Gulf City and so on is $1 million houses, and right adjacent it is Mbakade, with the houses with you know very, very little. So the thing is, you need to have affordable housing. Policy one of the PEP talks about 0% down payment, 0% interest for 30 years. And my own young people, my own daughter and some of my friends asked me, well, Mr. Jagasa, I never see this thing. How are you going to do that? And you know, it's very simple. When you go to the bank and you tell the bank, here what I want a house. The average house is 1.5 million. Well, we say $1 million. You know what it will take a couple $20,000 a month for the next 30 years to pay that off. So how are they going to live? The average family don't have $20,000. If you have an engineer and a teacher working for $8,000, $10,000, an engineer working for the next 10 or 15,000, that is all you're going to be able to do. So that thing, yes. I am in discussions with a person from the real estate division. He has his own real estate organization, and I am speaking with him in terms of how we can do this, how we can have this thing implemented as well, and in collaboration with what the policy of the PP is talking about there. And they say they are willing to construct the homes and so on. A home should not cost that exorbitant amount. When you don't have a home, and according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you need food, water, shelter, the basic needs of the base of the triangle. If you don't have those needs for everybody or the majority of the people, what going to do? They cannot aspire to higher levels of consciousness. So what you end up with is people just running here, there, and everywhere. If you ask the average person in San Fernando, what is you doing? To go and pay a bill. Everybody in they have everybody in survival mode. That is not what development of our nation is about. You have to move people to higher levels of consciousness. And I had 7 articles in the newspaper about different dimensions of development. So I hope that we could start with that. We could start with that's one resonates with me because we had linked it with training and education and development. There's a disconnect between what is going on in the universities and what is taking place on the ground. So you have your best brains, you have all the people with all the knowledge, stay inside there writing projects and so on. And this is why I came out from the PhD to make this research relevant to the needs of the people. And in terms of a different kind of intelligence, emotional intelligence, which is it's never taught in the schools, and nobody, this is a totally new area of research. So until these dimensions are not tweak it in the individual themselves, and they can operate on a holistic way. Not any projects you put forward, whether it is in physical projects, whether it is mental, emotional projects, they will not work. So you have a platform, people of Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension San Fernando West. You have a platform. What it is you want. One of the things that is disconcerting with the older people is, well, if only going government this time, next 5 years, I should have been, I retired. I came out from retirement because of the PUP and being able to now make a positive contribution to the development of the society and the community. And the community, not even the governance structure with the community approach that is offered by the PUP. You have somebody accountable. You have with the little training program we were talking about the separation of the powers of the MP and a minister. Those things should be separated. You can have a man doing that amount of work, the job description. I want to see the job description for a minister and the job description for an MP. I think they are totally different. So to burden one person that he can't do anything, he cannot be effective. So all this is tied into what is taking place on the ground. The other aspect is the health issue. The health, we have billions of dollars, they get billions of dollars. We need our account. We want a forensic audit of all these projects. I think this is what I'm not speaking on behalf of the PUP in this respect, but I think as a strategic planner, you need to have a forensic audit to see where you are. If you do not know where you are, you do not know where you're going to, and everything is hidden. Everything is hidden. You do not know anything. You have to write the Transparency Institute. This is what representation is, you know. I don't know if they understand what representation is. I see 5 people here running for San Fernando West. I don't know how they're going to do that. One of them even talk about dealing with water. The man, he's my good friend, I know him. But he didn't tell you how he's going to deal with the water problem, did he?
You never know how they're going to do it. You just always know what, which is why we can put out things like Vision 2020 and Vision 2030 and never be able to tell you how they are going to bring us to first world status. But Benison, again, 6 minutes left for the program, and I still have 2 more questions to you. The second to last question being, in your own words, why do you think the PUP, the Progressive Empowerment Party, is the best political vehicle right now, and why are you a candidate?
That is the simplest of all questions to me. Because the PUP has policies which are within themselves are solutions. And it's not about pie in the sky solutions. It's solutions which could be implemented. And what it does, apart from the actual physical things, it gives people the opportunity to see things that could be done in a different way. What we have been doing over the past 40 years is trying to do the same thing over and over again and trying to get a different result. That is why perhaps Dr. Dayal Singh was talking about as the Secretary of the Psychiatric Association. And I have the article, I think is in 2014, when he said that 24% of the people suffering from some kind of mental illness in this country. And that was based on his research. So this is one of the things that, you know, we need to, that the Progressive Empowerment Party will address. You don't need to do the same thing over and over and expect to get the same result. If you push your finger and you vote for any other red and yellow things again, you know what's going to happen to you? You're going to go back to the same thing and you're going to be in the worst position. Because I sent the economic details to Philip already in terms of where the amount of debt this country has. And we're going down a slope that we cannot come out from. I can't see how we're going to buy out all that stuff. Our children and our grandchildren is going to be people who are going to pay and keep paying until we pay till through our noses, and we might end in the jaws of those IMF people and so on again. So this is one of the things that why I think where everybody should band together now. It's not about we must be under under one flag. We must be under one accord, as we talk about in the spiritual realm. Be of one accord. When you have these people dividing us among racial lines, among economic lines, among social lines, what is you doing? What is you are learning? What are you understanding? Are you becoming intelligent? If you have a piece of paper in your hand, we see up to the doctors in Trinidad. We have several doctors who pass through the system. I actually taught them, some of them, and they are telling me, Mr. Jackson, we have no job, How you gonna have your doctors, the best minds in the country? You bring in people from Cuba and all these other places. I have no problem with that, But see about our people first. The same thing with the issue with the lady crying on the whole of Facebook, begging to come home to see your own house, and you bring in CPL people inside here. You bring in CPL people to make money what we should have in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund 10 times over, like Singapore and Norway. I don't know if people are aware. I don't know. I think what the greatest asset that the Progressive Empowerment Party is bringing to Trinidad and Tobago is awareness. An awareness of where you are. And this is one of the most important, the self-awareness. This is one of the most, and one of the tenets of emotional intelligence, which I'm researching, and I'm going to put it in the book just now. The fact is, these things, if you're not aware of something, you will do it you must do things consciously, not unconsciously. You must live a life that is conscious. You want to quarrel with somebody, you quarrel with them. But don't let it be because they feel like quarrel with you. Or you vote for somebody because you want to vote for them, not because everybody voted in your family. This become according to Philip, a mommy society. Everything my mommy do, I do it too. We can't
I have to cut you off because we are out of time and I want to give you a minute. You have just under a minute to address your constituents of San Fernando West, and this is how interviews go. They will fly very quickly, so we make our point to make our impact as quickly as possible. You have a minute to address San Fernando West and tell them why they should vote for you come August the 10th.
In 1 minute, San Fernando West people, the reason is that I am seeing that you have no representation. Not some, none. I don't think they ever call, let's check the Hansard, to see if they ever called the word San Fernando West in the parliament. So how are you going to represent me? And you even know my name. My name is Benison, Benison, Jagessar, Jagessar. Make sure, vote for me when you go into the booth and you call me at any time that you feel you want to talk to me. I'm addressing the people who are our supporters. I'm sending a communique for you to contact me directly because we need your support in the elections here. And all the people who are disenfranchised and people who feel that they're not getting the kind of representation that you want, you call me. All the people who I have met who have not gotten, they have no job, they have no anything, you call me. You can call me through the PEP. I hesitate to give people my cell phone numbers. I will get a dedicated number. You can call the PEP office and let them know that you want to meet Mr. Jagessar, and they will surely inform you. So, vote. When you vote in, make sure when you vote, you come out of that booth with an orange insignia on your finger. Orange is our color. Vote for me. I will represent you to the best of my ability. I've tried to, over this one hour interview, to tell you of all the things, all the areas I can represent you in, and I'm sure I am the best candidate in the race of these 5 people here. to represent you and to bring forth the paradise that we want in San Fernando West. Yes? As far as the project
Thank
that
you
was
for
signed
that.
off, yes.
Thank you for that, Benison. And I'm so sorry that we are out of time. Clearly, you are a man that needs 2 hours for this program, so maybe we have to go back to our 2 hour time. No, but thank you so much for everything that you brought to the program this morning. I think the people of San Fernando West would be extremely lucky to have you as their next member of parliament. You bring a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience, and for someone who is no Johnny come lately, you clearly know what you have in mind for the constituency of San Fernando West, which is the first time I think that constituency has ever heard a real plan for them. And knowing the kind of person you are, I can definitely tell that you're somebody who would want to live up to everything that you promised these people, not the empty promises that they have heard for the past 58 years. Yeah, Trinidad and Tobago, we have reached the end of our program. We're just a little bit over the time, 8:02 a.m. Just want to remind you that those who have not yet registered to vote, tomorrow is your last day. Unfortunately, this PNM government rushed an election, giving people less than a week to get their business in order. Mr. Benison Jagasa joined us on the program this morning. He is your candidate for San Fernando West. So please ensure you register to go and vote at the polls. The 50% of you who do not vote, now is your opportunity to take back your country from the 50% who only vote race, party, and tribalist politics as they have been doing. The next 50%, this is your opportunity to tell them we're done with that. Tomorrow, join us on the program again from 7 a.m. where we will bring on the candidate for St. Anne's, which is Mr. Akil Kams. He launched his candidacy on the on CNC3 last night, and he will be joining us tomorrow at 7 a.m. Anything else I need to tell you all? Yes, please, people, we are raising funds for our next television broadcast. We are raising funds for our candidate registration. Some of our candidates, and as you all know, this is not funded by any deep pocket finances. So if you can help us pay anything towards our candidates nominations fee, which is due this Friday, please reach out to me, 769-4590, as the head of finance, and we will definitely accept your donation, your pledges towards a better country. This is just the first step. We'll be back tomorrow, and remember, during this period of social distancing, not like the couple on the couch who is separated, but when you're standing in line with strangers and in crowds, remember to stay together by staying apart. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.